Hola, bienvenidas y bienvenidos a todos. Esperamos unos minutos antes de empezar para que todos se puedan conectar y no se pierdan ni un segundo de esta presentación. Mientras que esperamos que se conectan todos y todas, me quiero un poquito presentar. Yo soy Alice y trabajo en el departamento de marketing aquí en Polimoda. Les quiero avisar que todas estas sesiones serán grabadas y después serán subidas en la página de YouTube de la Cámara de Comercio Italiana. Entonces, pueden ver y revivir todos los momentos en cualquier momento. Y también durante Encuentro Creativo, las escuelas que estamos participando, estamos lanzando unas becas. Polimoda en particular ofrece una beca en colaboración con Luxóptica que ofrece y hay que presentar un pequeño proyecto y hay un jurado que evaluará su proyecto y el ganador de este concurso va a ganar un curso de 4 semanas en Polimoda para el curso corto en Fashion Design o Fashion Brand Management. Además ganará un Mac y 2 par de gafas. Y después su proyecto lo podrá ver en todas las tiendas de Luxótica de México. Para ganar y participar a este concurso, todos ustedes tienen que participar al menos al 50% de las ponencias que tendrán lugar estas 2 semanas o tienen que participar al 25% de las ponencias, que son 7 sesiones, si han participado al evento Open Day que fue el 11 de octubre. Entonces, si han participado en este maravilloso evento que me contaron que fue maravilloso, pueden conectarse a 7 sesiones. Si no participaron al evento que fue presencial en la Ciudad de México, tienen que participar a 15 sesiones, entonces el 50% de las sesiones. Entonces, nos esperamos unos minutos más para que todos se conectan. Polimoda va a tener la sesión de hoy y también una sesión el 21 de octubre. Entonces, espero poderlos ver también en esa sesión. Bueno, nos esperamos que quiero que todos puedan escuchar bien toda la sesión. Ok, entonces ahora empieza oficialmente esta sesión. A nombre de la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México, les doy la bienvenida a este webinar que forma parte de la 5ª edición de Encuentro Creativo, un proyecto de la Cámara de Comercio apoyado por la Embajada Italiana en México. El objetivo de Encuentro Creativo es promover la oferta académica italiana en México, acercando a los estudiantes y profesionales a las instituciones educativas y oportunidades formativas en Italia. Es un honor darle una bienvenida a este webinar que tiene como título The Role of New Technologies and the Circular Economy to Make the Fashion System More Competitive and Sustainable. Tenemos con nosotros a Marco Tortora, que representa Polimoda, pero antes de darle la palabra a Marco, quiero un poquito contarle quién es Polimoda, dónde estamos y un poquito más sobre la escuela. Entonces, Polimoda es una institución educativa entre las más prestigiosas del mundo en el ámbito de la moda. Está ubicada en Florencia y ofrece programas académicos que abarcan el área de diseño, marketing, comunicación y gestión empresarial. Fundada en 1986, Polimoda se distingue por su enfoque innovador y su conexión con la industria global, proporcionando a los estudiantes una experiencia formativa que combina la tradición artesanal italiana con las últimas tendencias y tecnologías del mercado. Ahora doy la bienvenida a Marco, pero obviamente antes de empezar le quiero un poquito presentar a Marco y quién es. Es profesor de Polimoda y Project Leader. Es un emprendedor social y consultor especializado en sostenibilidad y economía circular, con más de 20 años de experiencia en el ámbito académico, sector social e industria privada. Desarrolla proyectos y programas de formación para empresas y organizaciones. Es profesor desde hace más de 20 años en universidades italianas y estadounidenses. Es cofundador y presidente de FAIR, además de formar parte de asociaciones como Amerigo y Babel. Ok, entonces ya Marco, es tu turno, entonces adelante Marco. Y su sesión va a ser en inglés.
Okay. Hi, everyone, and thank you very much, Alice. It's a real pleasure to be here with you, with all of you. So thank you for actually attending this webinar. It's a real pleasure, and like before starting, I'd like to thank all the people in the organization at Encuentro Equitativo, as well as the Italian Chamber of Commerce in Mexico, and of course, Polimoda. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see the presentation I have for you, and I hope you can see this. Can you see this? Full screen? Okay, great. So as you can see, the title of our meeting today is to focus on the European context, the European market, and especially on how maybe the fashion industry can face the new challenges coming from the new regulations and normative area, especially with the application and use of new technologies. So we are going to talk a little about the fashion industry, its impact, and the problems that actually arise from the daily operations of this sector, and then we'll see what are the, let's say, the different possibilities and solutions. And especially we are going to focus on one of the latest, let's say, technologies that's right now is very under the scrutiny and focus both of the regulatory side and also the business side. Alice already told everyone about everything, sorry about me, but just I'd like to focus that again and more aware, especially in the matter of sustainable fashion, and I'm project leader for the matter. So I'm going to introduce you to some of the things we do and with our students and the way we approach as a sort of, if you like, philosophy and mindset. So let's start from the market focus, very general. This is, let's say, generally speaking, something true for the whole world. So I suppose you're very young, and so you belong to these generations. So I'd like to start from, first of all, the consumer side, okay? If the fashion industry is going to change, it's because there is this sort of customer-driven, let's say, need. So to work with and or for more purpose-driven companies, for companies that actually care more about the environment, but also about people and society. So there is that pressing demand and request from the market. It's not just about, let's say, what you think or what would you like to get from a company in terms of job or, for example, in terms of products, but it's also about, again, the let's say the gap that right now we can see in the market, especially between youngest generations like yours and what's going on in the world of fashion. When we think about fashion, we have a plethora of many different companies, from very micro companies, maybe family business driven companies, to very big corporations. It's a global industry, of course, but more and more people, especially, and again, your generation, is trying to create a better, different relationship with smaller brands, with more probably true, with true brands, true in terms of transparency, trackability, in terms of, again, sharing principles and or values. So as you can see, the customers and or the consumers are changing the market, and they're changing the market in the direction of a higher and bigger focus on sustainability topics and or issues. And that's great because it seems that in some ways companies are responding to that. This is not a really updated, let's say, picture. It comes from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. That's a very important institution focusing on the circular economy and also the circular economy and the fashion industry. As we can see from here, the demand is growing, production is growing, revenues are growing, but at the same time, we consume more, but we use less and less. And so the problem is in the rate of usage, that we put a lot of stuff into the, let's say, economic system first, but also in society and in the environment, and we don't know exactly what to do with that. Can we go on with that, or maybe it's time to start thinking in a different way? So this is what we are going to discuss about today. If we go on in that direction, let's say, the impact will be very bad. Again, these are very powerful infographics that can give you an idea about the bad impact of the fashion industry as it goes as usual in terms of the amount of waste created per year, or the impact in terms of even the volume of stuff. It's not just about the tons, but also the volume, the size of the space we can occupy. According to different rankings, the fashion industry is very polluting. Doesn't matter right now if it's the first, the second, the third, or more. What's important is it's a fact. So there is evidence, scientific evidence, facts, and data that confirm that the trend is not positive. And so something has to be done and taken. Again, in the world of the media in general, the social media, the mainstream media, these are usually the pictures we can see, because again, the fashion is a global industry, and even if everything maybe is fine in some countries or markets, in other areas there is someone paying the bill of doing the things not in the right way. So these are again the picture of the waste produced and, let's say, disposed in landfills very far from the richest markets and area. So how to change this? Well, there are, again, as I said before, some ways. And these ways are not just, again, these possible solutions are not just about, again, the impact on the environment, but also about the impact of people in terms of human rights, workers' rights, health, safety, and the quality of life in general. As you can see from this picture, again, if we take these, in some ways, the storytelling from the mainstream media and or the social media seems that especially the impact is on very far, again, countries that are very far from, let's say, the center of the richest markets in the world. But it's not really true, because probably you know that, especially in the last few months, let's say now almost a year, many scandals have, let's say, popped up all around the world, but mainly in Europe and unfortunately also in Italy. So very famous luxury brands actually have been under the lenses of the media for many scandals regarding their supply chain, the way they treat the workers, and the fact that many of the people you saw in the previous pictures actually are employed in very close to the headquarters, let's say, of the cities where these brands are in terms of headquarters, but also in terms of the main stores. So there is, again, going back to the previous data, a sort of a gap that's growing, expanding between, again, your generation as consumers, but not just your generation, and these brands. And the problem is that everything is about trust. and the fact that it's not just, again, about the heritage, it's not just about the reputation marketing terms, there is more than that, and consumers today value that more in a different way. If we look at also what the specialized magazines and or media sources report about sustainability, just looking at the last couple of years, we can see that, for example, according to the Business of Fashion, sustainability is an important area to focus on for businesses in this industry for many reasons. But the first is the fact that across the different countries and markets and jurisdictions, again, new rules are, again, have been developed and put into the system, changing the way companies have to think about the way they do business, the way they procure the resources they need, the way they transform the resources, the way they add value to these resources, the way they sell, engage, and start thinking about the end of life of these products. That's true for, again, especially for the European Union, with many new regulations and directives, let's say legal acts, that change the way, again, the industry is organized, the supply chain is organized, but also national legislations have to deal with some of these topics. For example, the EU strategy for sustainable and circular textiles actually gave very important signals to companies to start thinking in a different way about the way they design, produce, and sell their products. Again, the same Business of Fashion, in collaboration with the McKinsey company, even this year has published a report about the state of fashion, focusing on the importance of, say, the focus on sustainability. The fact is that even if it's more and more important, the way the different countries, markets refer to, try to regulate sustainability is different. So in some ways, sometimes you have more barriers, sometimes you have more opportunities or threats. So it depends, and it's not easy, especially for companies, to navigate through this very complex system that's on one side changing, and on the other side, it's also impacting the world economy in general, and let's say even the national economy, or just our industry is dealing with these new complexities. Probably you have heard about that. This is a term, VUCA, coming from the word of the military word. That means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And if you download the latest or most recent reports from many important companies, like consulting companies, you will see and read that actually it's more and more complex to understand how to get the, let's say, the right feedback, to redesign the strategy, and to make the right choices in order to stay competitive on one side, but maybe also to create more and better value for your customers. So how to do with, let's say, how to deal with that and what it means in terms of sustainability. Again, going back or linking that to another important report from the World Economic Forum, you will find that among the highest risks that the most important corps in the world and or the managers, well, there are many of these that are related to sustainability. So, for example, here, if you just look at the colors, you will see that many of these main issues in terms of risks in 2 to 10 years are or relate to our society or the environment and or technology, that at the end of the day, it's about the economic pillar of sustainability. So the 3 pillars of sustainability, the economic, the social, environmental, are actually the most important areas that will be potentially a source for risks. And as you know, a risk is a potential cost that companies, they have to try to avoid. So to do something before something bad maybe might happen. In 10 years, as you can see, the presence of the green is very, very high, more than in 2 years. So it means that the environment probably is the area where the majority of risk will come from. So how do you feel after this, or how managers feel after that? Let's say, like, as they say in these comics, like drinking a very nice, or having a nice aperitivo, since we are in Italy right now, but at the same time, the boat is sinking and you don't know exactly what to do. So is there a way to try to fix the problem globally, but also just looking at what we do daily in our daily operations, in the way we engage with our customers and or with our suppliers and or partners, and even competitors. So yes, there is a way. There is a way to be sustainable. There is a way to increase your performances in terms of sustainability, as well as there is a way to stay in the market in a different way in terms of design and or approach to the product and or service slash customer. And this is the circular economy. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But again, here just examples of brands that are trying to experience something different and to be different in a world where, let's say, especially on the backstage, many things are, let's say, done, accomplished, and or developed as usual. So what it means to be different in the world today, in the fashion industry, embracing sustainability and maybe introducing some elements of innovation, like in the case of the circular economy. So here again, a list of some of the very famous brands worldwide from different, let's say, sectors, from Levi's to Patagonia, from Gucci to Twinset, that actually are trying to develop some circular strategies like take-back programs, like recycling, upcycling, repairability, and so on. So all of these are techniques that can be applied or experimented by these companies, again, to try to create new value and to offer a different experience to the customers. But it's not enough. It's more complex than just experimenting. And again, the regulation or the word of regulators on one side and also the expectations and needs of consumers on the other side are asking for more and more. So a way to be prepared for that is, let's say, to go through a sort of learning curve and trying to start your sustainability path somewhere, somehow. You don't have to be first, but what's important is that you learn how to adapt and understand and then apply sustainability concepts and opportunities. So this is something I want to show you is, for example, that here at Polimoda, what we do with our students is, okay, before you propose a very interesting and innovative, let's say, idea to your potential client, well, first of all, you have to understand what sustainability means in terms of sustainability management, to understand, again, all these unpredictable changes and new challenges and threats. So the first thing is, okay, what do you have to learn and then how to apply that? So, okay, this is a sort of exercise, but I've tried to do this for you. So the first thing that we try to tell them is, first, you have to start researching, analyzing, observing the world around you in order to get all the information that you need, and then to organize this information in a way that you will prepare once you are into a business to manage sustainability according to the tools that are already available in the market and or that your future company will provide you in order, again, to monitor, control, and report about these sustainability issues. Usually at this stage, sustainability is when it's introduced in a business, it's on the defensive side. Maybe companies, after a while, they start understanding that probably there is a return on this kind of investment. Let's say getting a certification like a green certification for your materials or for your finished product or for your processes is not that bad. It is a cost at the beginning, but maybe later you will see that the advantages are more than just the short-term disadvantages. And then you see that, well, we have saved money, we reduce our costs, and maybe there is something more we can do. Again, you learn how to deal with, how to introduce sustainability, how to deal with sustainability, how to introduce sustainability in your, again, daily routines, as well at a higher level into, if it's possible, let's say strategy, engaging also, for example, the top management and or the direction of your business. So this is what, again, for example, our students do in the first part. This is what I do with them at the master, in the first part of the master. So they start learning what are these many tools they have all around them, how regulations change, what are the international standards that are applied by the industry and the most important actors. And so they learn some of these tools and then they apply this to assess the sustainability of the company after, of course, a business analysis, and then to propose something different in terms of improving performances. So here, for example, you have some slides, taken pictures from the latest cohort that we had last March, and where students discussed with real companies from, let's say, Italy, and mainly small medium enterprises from the supply chain, how to, again, improve their sustainability performances, focusing more on the materials or research and development, and or the customer engagements with tools like code of conduct and or international standards for sustainability reporting, and so on. So let's say that the first step is understanding what it means for your business sustainability and how to deal with that, but then also how to introduce it in a way that's efficient, and again, that can allow you to reduce costs or improve savings and or create a better value without changing the core business, without changing the business model. After that, well, we ask them, okay, now it's the time you have learned. Now it's the time to be more creative, to be different, to try to propose something very far from the, let's say, average standard that is expected, let's say, by the industry. So what it means, again, that the industry has many problems. These problems are called and defined as systemic. So it's time to start thinking maybe in a different way, because maybe you're good and great in terms of sustainability as usual, but you have just, again, repaired that boat that was sinking, but you haven't changed the boat in its shape, for example. Maybe that is a way to do so. And so this is what we ask them to do. So to adopt different mindset, to start thinking like an entrepreneur, to try to apply startup techniques, and then to use more and more the digital world and the digital solution, again, sorry, to help companies to, again, start a new process and a new path. So it means to change the way you think. Again, we live in a linear economy. Many areas are very good in terms of sustainability, but the circular economy is, again, is the new frontier. So we ask them to start, again, changing the way their companies, the real companies they work with and for, what they can do in terms of circularity, how they can change the business model. So everything is, again, about introducing new business models, and especially circular business models, and to go in that direction. How to do so? First of all, you have to change the mindset and the philosophy, other than, of course, looking at other industries and or experiences in order to get the best from this. For example, like the business model canvas, as well the design thinking approach, and or the lean startup approach. So there's a bunch of, let's say, different approaches, tools, mindsets, profiles, even philosophies, if you like, that will usually are offered to students to start thinking in a different way. And what it means that instead of producing the next new creative, beautiful product, maybe what you really have to do is to understand what the customer is searching for. So the real question is, this is usually the example, do you need to buy a car to go from home to school, or do you just need to use the car? The way you answer the question with is, of course, the difference in producing a new car and or offering something different, a different kind of experience with the usage, of course, of the car. And this is what actually is happening worldwide and also in Europe in terms of new people thinking about new opportunities for fashion industry. So this is the world of innovators, this is the world of startups, and that world regards also the circular economy. So I suggest you to, again, to follow what's going on. This is the frontier, but of course, these companies, many of these companies, even if very small, they already cooperate and collaborate with very big brands everywhere, and also in the European Union. So what we ask students, for example, to do is to work for a real company like a luxury fashion brand, Ferragamo in our case, to start thinking in a more circular way, in an innovative way, and to propose different ideas. And they did. So if you like, you can search for the video of the experience on YouTube. So I think it's important to focus on this. Now, if you have any questions, I remind you, you can use the Q&A session. So the last 5 to 10 minutes will be dedicated to that. So just to wrap up everything and summarize what we have just said. Sustainability, it means it's a path, especially for business. It's a learning by doing process. Every company has to find its own way to be sustainable in the world. There are many tools and opportunities, but in general, you can decide to be or on a defensive side. So go on with your business as usual, just try to be greener than before. Or you can do things in a more different way and maybe the return will be higher. And so this is what we try to, let's say, to teach here at Polimoda and to offer to our students. This is important, especially in terms of systems thinking, as well as system analysis and or context analysis. So after this, let's say, first part of introduction, I want to focus more on the specific case we are here to discuss, that's the DPP. But to understand the digital product passport as a new opportunity, thanks to new technologies that companies in the fashion industry can use, for example, to be compliant to the law, especially the new law in the European Union. First of all, it's important to say just a little thing about the European Union. So I don't know if you heard about that, but the European Union started a new environmental, let's say, program called the European Green Deal a few years ago, not that far. And the idea is to make the European Union again the smartest, let's say, area in the world, especially to change Europe and to make it climate neutral by 2050. So there are specific targets we have. We means every single country and then all the actors of these countries together try to achieve by that date. Before that, we have 2030 and 2040 as, let's say, midterm deadlines. So as you can see, the focus here, at least, it's on the reduction cut in CO2 emissions. How to do so? Well, there are many goals that actually the European Union has to try to accomplish along the way. First of all, to become also a more circular and resilient economy. Remember that the European Union, first of all, the goal, strategic goal is to become an integrated market, okay? This is how it started and still is one of the main goals. How to do so? So the circular economy could be, sustainability here defined in terms of the circular economy could be a very important, let's say, strategic goal to be achieved and accomplished in order to move that continent in that direction. As you can see, there are also other targets, but now the focus will be just on the circular economy action plan. That's very important. It's a very important pillar of the European Green Deal. And as you can see, it's about focusing on the entire life cycle of the product. So as we said before, you don't have to think anymore about your product as usual. So, input, transformation, output, but exploitation, input, transformation, output, usage, and end of life. And then what else? So try to close the loop. That's the circular economy. And the difference between the circular economy today and the circular economy just a few years ago is the fact that today we have so many opportunities thanks to new technologies that it's a pity not to, let's say, use those. And actually it's required by the European Union to try to do this. So the European Union has coupled the two transitions, the green and the digital. And technologies like big data, cloud computing, 3D printing, and so on could help, again, companies to move faster towards the circular economy, especially in terms of design and production of the product. The European Union has also regulated the way you have to design the product to make it more sustainable. It's called the Eco Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, and that matches very well with the new circular economy plan. These pictures are here just to show you again the complexity of the regulatory system. Many things have changed in just a couple of years, or no more than 4 actually. So everything started more or less around the COVID, unfortunately, area for the COVID, of course. And as you can see here, what it means, the eco-design for sustainable product regulations in terms of, for example, the impact on textiles, the impact on chemicals, the impact on packaging. So when you think about the product, you have so many components, including the packaging, that of course, it starts becoming, really complex to understand how to handle this and to be compliant to the law. So this is a very important, again, act, and many other acts happened before and will again happen. There are also some obligations that countries and then companies have to deal with. And again, it's not just about eco-design or the new regulation about eco-design. It's about so many things that the way companies can handle this is to cooperate, to collaborate, to work in teams, both internally and externally, with their supplier, with their customers, with their clients, because otherwise it's too much, again, for them to handle everything. And it's not enough. This is about business, so this is about money. So the European Union has also defined when a company is sustainable, that's called the EU taxonomy, and has also defined that, let's say, they gave that definition in order to some ways to align to financial markets. What it means that to make changes in the business, you need money. If you need money, you need the banks or you need financial markets. You need someone providing that resource. So in order to get a better access to credit, a better access to capital in general, it is important that you show and prove that you are performing very well in terms of sustainability, KPIs, key performance indicators. And that also relates to some other acts like the one about the corporate social responsible directive. That's about sustainability reporting. So it means that you have, as a business, to monitor and control what you do and to report this in terms of numbers, quantitative numbers, to someone else, stakeholders, in order to show that, yes, you are sustainable, yes, you are performing well, and yes, you are improving your performances. So there's a bunch, let's say, or a real big umbrella of different acts that today companies have to know. Again, this is another picture just to show you in a nutshell all the different regulations that have been introduced recently and how they impact the value chain and or the production process of companies. At the same time, communicating with the world of the investors. So that's called the ESG framework, or again, frameworks. So I hope everything is clear. Again, if you have questions, please have. Now, in this context, the real question is, okay, what companies can do? And so let's start from the easy aspect of everything. So we know that we have many technologies, we have blockchain, we have the digital transition, all the information that we create, again, daily in a business can be translated, transformed into a code like the 0 and 1, so into the digital. And so why not going into that direction to use the digital, let's say, data to engage the consumer in a better way, to be more transparent about what we do, and in some ways also to distinguish ourselves from our competitors. This idea to be more transparent has been always in, let's say, in the market, and has been achieved in the past through other more, let's say, mature technologies, but now everything is more integrated and interconnected. So when you hear, if you start searching, for example, about the digital product passport, you will see that there is a very big, important focus on the marketing side. Makes sense because we know that every process is or has to be customer driven, and that's okay. But introducing the digital product passport into a business is not that easy, and this is what I'm going to show you. So now we are going to answer very quickly some of these questions. So what's the DPP? What are the main features? What companies need to do? What are the advantages and or the threats that maybe will come from that? So the digital product passport, as you can see, will allow the consumer, again, to track and document the product sustainability. So whatever you will do, of course, this is not about all the information. There are private, say, information that cannot be shared for many reasons. First of all, maybe industrial secret, but again, on one side, it will allow the company to manage all these processes and to monitor this in a better way. On the other side, to be, let's say, controlled by other, let's say, actors like the EU, as well as the final consumer. So there is even here a roadmap and at the deadline, but the general idea is, again, that information will include, for example, even how to, for example, to use the product, how to repair the product, or what to do with the product once, you decide as the final user to dispose it. Before disposing it, is there another opportunity in order to reduce the impact on the environment and maybe help the companies to be more, again, aligned to its environmental strategic goals? So this is what the DPP might do. So the DPP is, or the Digital Product Passport, will be introduced step by step. It will regard different industries. And for example, batteries regulation, the toys regulation, the chemicals, the construction regulation, the raw materials act. So it's, let's say, a tool that refers and in some ways linked to many new, again, regulations acts that will change the European market as a whole. So it's really important as a tool, and the companies, they had to start understanding what it means, what it is, and how to introduce first it into the production processes, and then how maybe to implement it in a very efficient way. So what it does, the DPP? Well, as you can see here, it defines that access requirements for product eco-design. It integrates the physical eco-design requirements, allows inclusion of traceability information, builds on existing international best practices, and enables use of new technologies and approaches. So that's good, that's great. That's just the list of the many things it can do. It's not a tracking tool, but it can be integrated with. The problem with the DPP is, let's say, and it starts here, the fact that it's a real technical tool, meaning, again, a fashion company where probably on average, especially if it's a small, medium enterprise, where the culture of the data, meaning the digital culture in its average management, let's say, is not that high, well, the problem is to understand what can we do and who can help us in introducing that. So collaboration, again, with IT, for example, companies, software developers, it's important because, again, there are so many technical issues and potential problems, risks that companies will have to face and then trying to resolve, well, is very high, the probability that these things will happen. So as you can see here, there is an IT architecture that's about unique identifiers, data carriers, access rights management, interoperability, and so on. So if you have tried, even with your friends, to try to connect different, I don't know, websites or social medias and using different platforms, you know what or how interoperability important is and the many problems that sometimes you have. It's about the data. So it's about the fact that data should be reliable, durable, verifiable. And so it's also about third-party actors that can jump into the process and verify what you, let's say, are going to expose. So there are, again, many things to think about. For example, again, the fact that all the information will have to go through a persistent unique identifier, that there is a data carrier, that there is, of course, also in Europe, the regulation about the GDPR, that's about the privacy of the data. And so, again, it's not that easy, and there are many different levels in terms of technology that have to be interconnected and also developed at the same time. So for small, medium enterprises, there is on one side a lot of expectation, very high expectations here. So it seems to be a very good product, maybe to communicate or to engage better with their customers. They could be the final consumers or other, let's say, firms in the B2B area. But again, the actions, the things they have to do in order to, after the initial idea, to execute it, and then the potential risks in front of them, let's say, counterbalance this very high expectation on the other side. So there are a lot of worries. Okay, but what can we do? Again, who can help us in doing that? So the obligations are, again, about this, that the DPP has to be organized, developed, it has to exist, it has to be complete, and the data have to be authentic, reliable, verified, archived, and available. Here you have, again, a better details of everything. As you can see, you need, again, help, and help of different kinds. So legal, technical, that means software, hardware, and also consulting in terms of, for example, the supply chain and so on. If you, for example, draw the workflow of one of the latest maybe companies, businesses where you got an internship and you try to see, okay, this is what they do, these are the main functions, these are all the, the different kinds of relationships they have developed. This is how they manage the supply chain. This is how they deliver the product to the retail chain and or to the store. This is how they manage the e-commerce. See how complex is everything. And again, you have to bring everything into this unique system. The main system will be managed by the EU, of course, and as well, especially about the EU, it's important that all of the registry, and the web portal where everyone can, again, go and find information to search for about that specific product. Again, what you can see here is all the different areas that will be impacted by the DPP. So from the DPP itself, that means, okay, this is the introduction of a new technology, a new tool. technologically based, and also the regulatory framework with all different connections, and the market in terms on one side, maybe on the incentives and or the threats coming from the supply chain management area, as well as the problem with interoperability and so on, the policy. So especially in terms of the data and the application of new or innovative business models, as well as the engagement with the consumers, and all the list of the many technologies that you can integrate with the DPP, from the QR code to the RFID to AI to blockchain. So the DPP, again, it's not just the blockchain. Many people, the first thing they think about the DPP is, okay, we can use the blockchain. It's not just about the blockchain. Blockchain maybe could be a technology that you can introduce to do specific things, but not just to organize the whole system of the DPP around that. Again, what are the risks? Centralized databases, non-global standards, the obsolescence of the data, the low quality of the data can guarantee for that, especially if those come from different sources, suppliers of information deficit, and so on. But especially the loss of transparency and traceability. If you really like or love the blockchain and that word, and I agree with you, of course, but you, let's say, add layers of complexity to an already new, innovative, and very difficult to understand and handle sector. So strategic risk, business continuity risk, information security, regulatory risk, or scalability, or supplier-related risk. So who is the supplier of the blockchain? There are companies, even very innovative, and startups, for example, also here in Italy, that try to provide that kind of service and or link the Web3 with the blockchain and with the DPP and so on. Again, but they are startups. Do you trust them? Are you big enough to invest with them and to grow with them? And what if something goes wrong? So all of these are things that you have to consider. So again, everything is happening under the umbrella of the ESPR, so these new eco-design for sustainable product regulations that will impact many different sectors, and especially our sector, the fashion industry and textiles first. So it is important to be ready. It is important to study. It is important to communicate, to change information, and to exchange information, and also to monitor and observe what's going on in other sectors, in other areas, in other markets. This is what I suggest you to do. If everything is fine, and probably companies will, let's say, jump to the forefront of the market and will get very high benefits and returns on this kind of investment. But what's important, and this is the part I like to stress more on, is the fact that this is, as they call it in Europe, the digital transition. So it's not just about sustainability. It's not just about to approach sustainability in a very innovative way like the circular economy. Is to use the digital tools that we now can access in a different way in order to create new different business models and to create and provide better value to our customers. Before I leave you to the question sessions, I just want to show you again very visually that it's a great opportunity for companies, okay? Big companies, let's say they have enough resources to handle that and to understand what's going on. The worries are about the supply chain. So the majority of the firms, the small, medium enterprises, are they ready for that transition? Are they ready to introduce, let's say, two different cultures, sustainability and the digital together, and to find the right efficient connection to move on forward the direction of, let's say, the expectations of their customers, like the brands? There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to monitor and observe. This is just, again, things that you can find, for example, in some papers about the best technologies that could be introduced at every step of the production process, of the value chain. But please remember the complexity behind that. Please remember that this is about so many different skills, so many different competencies that on one side, I think it's a great opportunity for you, the next generation of managers, the next generation of entrepreneurs, to catch this opportunity, to understand in which way you want to go. And here, there is a very important room for everyone who wants to change the world, let's say, for better, but with the use of the latest technology. So again, this is here just, again, to focus on the complex environment that companies are going to face, and they need new, fresh, let's say, mindsets and, let's say, skills in order to approach the complexity of the world. So as you can see here, there's a lot to do, and I hope that you will be the next, let's say, manager will allow its company to produce, to stay in the market, to be more competitive, to be more sustainable, to be innovative and circular, thanks to the right and efficient use of new technologies. So if you have now questions, and I'd like to answer to this, and I hope you had a very quick, but at the same time, let's say, clear perspective on the complexity of our industry and markets in the next near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. It was an amazing session. Now you can do all the questions you have. Please write the question in English, and so Marco will reply. So Marco, I see two questions for you, and I see one question for me. So let me reply to the question for me, and then you can read the other questions. So from Paula, I see that she's asking for free courses. Unfortunately, in Polimoda, we don't have free courses. You can join these sessions, or you can join other webinars we organize all over the year online. So you will receive an email with that webinars, and you can join that, but online courses, no. So now there are two questions, Marco.
Okay, so the first is from Audrey. Today in 2025, with AI, almost every aspect of our lives actually plaguing every aspect of our life. What do you think will be its role in the near future concerning the economy worldwide? Well, thank you for this question. It's very important, but I think it's here. So it's been here for a while. What we can see as final user is how powerful it is. So think about what actually the specialist can see and do with AI, and just referring to the AI that's free for us, right? What we can say is that, again, it can help companies to automate their processes, to make the processes more efficient, to reduce the cost, to understand on the basis, for example, of the past potential risks coming up in the future. But it's a tool, so it has to be used when you think it's useful for your, for example, for employees, for your partners, or for your even suppliers. So again, it's first of all, you have to define the strategy to understand what are your strategic goals and how and if AI could help you in achieving that goal in a more efficient way. It's possible. Many companies are experiencing that, even probably yourself in your private life, and this is it, something like that. I think it's really useful, and the applications I've seen are very important. The real concern here is not that is everywhere, is are we ready to use it in the right way? Maybe that's the question. And again, the experience right now is that, especially in the supply chain, in small, medium enterprises, at least here in Europe and mainly in Italy, that has the highest number of small, medium enterprises, well, this culture and knowledge of the digital data is not that high as well. So the problem is that people don't know the tool, don't know what to do with the tool, and if they use it, maybe they cannot, let's say, master the tool, so they will depend from someone else. So this is something to avoid, again, in order to make our company more efficient and also sustainable. Or the second one is, how can the circular economy models and new tech boost profitability and supply chain resilience without inflating the final retail price? Two questions. And the second one, which incentive mechanisms, supply contracts, green finance have proven most effective to align the value chain towards the circular models? Well, starting from the latest, comes from the experience. First of all, the suppliers are those, at least in the fashion industry, those who actually have the real knowledge about the production process. So many of the innovations come from the suppliers, that operationally and daily they interact, of course, with their customers. And when, again, problems arise, they try together to fix it and to find, again, new solutions for that. Green financing, it's at its beginning, at least here in Europe, and doesn't push in that direction unless for sustainability as usual. For example, in terms of some of the KPIs, for example, banks are looking at, or again, the amount of waste produced by a company. But here it's more complex than that, because every single company that also belongs maybe to different sectors, even if in the same industry, they talk a different language. So making a banker, let's say, understand what you do, what's your business model is about, how it works, and then how sustainable it is and how good it is in terms of performances, and then translating that into the language of the bank, meaning the ESG, is not that easy. It's almost, let's say, could be also a barrier. Depending also on the dimension of the bank, your profile, sustainability profile, could be ranked on the basis of an algorithm. So again, we go back to the AI. And sometimes in the real world, you cannot reduce everything just to an algorithm, but there is a personal relationship, and that's especially true in the supply chain. About the final price, I say that if there is a business case for sustainability, and there is evidence for that, your company should be able to achieve its benefits in terms of higher savings, lower cost, and a better value for the customer. You don't need to ask a markup for, let's say, just for the fact that you claim to be sustainable, okay? This is my personal opinion. I don't think that's a good strategy. It's more a tactic, short term, but in the long term, if you learn how to apply sustainability concepts, tools, and good practices, you will see that you will find out, you will free many resources from so many areas in your company that, again, you won't need to, let's say, push up the final retail price. So I hope I also reply to this. The other questions for you? I don't know this one about the book, so I don't know if that's for me or for you. Oh, there is someone at the end about success stories from the DPP. Well, it's just started, so I suggest you to monitor so many companies. There is a good startup here in Italy. It's a spin-off of a very famous engineering university, and they're doing fine. But it's at the beginning. Again, you need always a client to be successful in the market. So they're trying. There are companies who are trying to stay together, even competitors, creating maybe a consortium and to approach not just the DPP, but let's say these new, let's call them opportunities, as well as companies who from other sectors that maybe have an experience about that, not defined as DPP, but let's say trackability and or traceability and transparency and the use of the digital. So mainly IT software houses, even very big, that can offer support to that. Again, there are so many questions that every single case should be, let's say, approached again on its in a different way, and to understand the real needs, and then to match the right technologies to that. So let's say that, safely speaking, proposing an old-fashioned QR code it's great, it's okay, because something that more or less people both in the industry and or in the market, like the consumer, can understand. You have a smartphone, you scan the QR code, and then you, let's say, are invited to go to the website where you can get the most interesting information and data about the brand you're searching for. So I don't know.
I see a question on the chat from Guadalupe, and she's asking, we can carry out mass production to reduce costs, but with recyclable raw material, and makes this something sustainable and sustainable. Oh yeah. And will there be example in the market?
Okay, no, I cannot read that, sorry. So this is more about recycling.
And I can show you from my computer. Just a moment.
Ok, very... ok. Nella chat, scusate, sorry. Switching the... Okay, another question. Okay, carry out mass production to be discussed by we recycle materials. Okay, well, recycling, first of all, is not circularity, even if, of course, the first step for after, let's say, disposal and incineration, according to a model called the 9R. So we are still in the linear economy. From the technical, let's say, side, recycling is okay, it's good, but it depends. So, for example, if you recycle cotton, what happens in terms of the quality? For example, the standards that you expect from the transformation of that material into a finished product, let's say, just as an example, denim. And you will find out that there are many examples of companies, mainly in the denim sector, that actually started to recycle everything, but then they cannot, because again, recycled cotton is not like natural cotton, and so you have to mix it up with new materials, new cotton, as well as other maybe materials. So it's okay, recycling, but again, it depends. Technically, you have to conduct or an LCA, life cycle assessment, and or cost benefit analysis to understand which way to go. Sometimes you think that the best material is the organic, the natural, but it's not always like that. And at the end of the day, you are in the market. So you have to guarantee some basic standards in terms of quality to your customers. And in order to do that, you have also to go through technical knowledge and or technological knowledge and advancements. And again, the market in terms of suppliers and or accessibility is there to remind you that you can have the best ideas in the world and the best values, but you have to, again, to face reality and to look at your budget and your deadline and customer expectations. And so at the end is, again, it's a trade-off. And this is how it works. And it's okay, because that's the way to go in order to improve.
Okay. So thank you very much, Marco, and thank you very much, everybody, to being here with us today. If you want to learn more about these topics, we will wait you as a student here in Polimoda, so you can have Marco as professor. So now I switch in Spanish to the end of this session. Gracias a todos por participar a esta sesión. Fue increíble y esperamos que aprendieron mucho y esperamos obviamente verlos aquí en Florencia. En nombre de la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México, expreso mi gratitud obviamente por la presencia y agradecemos las marcas que formaron parte de este encuentro creativo, como Luxóptica, Lavazza, Fiat, entre otras, y les invito a participar a todas las otras sesiones para que puedan ser eligible, no sé cómo se diga en español, para participar en la beca que ofrecemos entre Polimoda y Luxóptica. Entonces, muchísimas gracias a todos, and thank you very much, Marco, for this session.
Thank you, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye.